Welcome back to the channel, guys. In today's video, I'm going to be showing you the exercises I've used to work on my core and get a six-pack. And yeah, I'll talk you through them all. I'll give you some progressions, some regressions, so that if you're at a level where maybe that's too easy, or if it's too difficult, then you've got an exercise that works for you. Now, it's important to note that with all of these exercises, to actually visually see your abs, right, you need to make sure that you are lean enough. If you've got too much body fat, like you've all got abs, right, you've all got abs, but at the moment, you've probably got too much body fat covering the area so that they're not visible. Now, you just don't, you want your core to be visible, right? You want to be able to see all the muscles in your core. Now, until you get lean enough, that won't be a thing. But of course, by like any muscle, when you develop it, you get stronger and it grows in size, then it's going to become more prominent at a higher body fat percentage. So if you need to be 10% to your abs, right, as an example, if you work on a muscle and you actually grow them, like any other muscle, your arms, your chest, then you might be able to see it at 12, 13, 14%. So it just becomes more prominent at higher body fat percentages. I'm keeping the coat on, guys. I'm absolutely freezing. But what I'm going to do in this video is I'm going to show you every single exercise. You're going to see a video of me doing it. And if there's anything that you want more specific information on, let me know in the comments and we'll go from there. First exercise isn't actually one, it's going to be three, but I'm going to combine it into one because although you can develop all of them, especially the last one, I've been using these at the start of my sessions and always do for every session. It just makes me feel fired up around my core. It works on my coordination, it works on my balance, and we're resisting any rotation of the spine on some of these movements. And on one of them, it's a nice introduction to some anti-extension work. So starting off with a bird dog. The bird dog's a great exercise, even if you're a beginner, really simple to do. You can do this at any level, even at an advanced level like where I'm at the moment. I still do this in my own training as a nice warm-up. And like I said, coordination, get the core firing up. After that, I do this on all of my sessions as a warm-up. I go into a dead bug as well. So this is like a nice introduction to some anti-extension work, whilst also a bit of coordination work as well, because of course you've got opposite arm, opposite leg, extension and bringing them together. So again, of course you can progress both of these movements. Like you could be doing on a dead bug, you might be doing a weighted leg lower or something. You could go with some more advanced anti-extension work, but this works really nice for warm-up, coordination, and gets the core fired up. And then we've got our plank. So this works really well. Obviously you can do this at the start, you could do this towards the end as well, whenever, as part of the session. But for me, I've gone through phases of both. So I can do it at the start and it's more like a warm-up, and I just feel like it's a good work for stability of your core, right? Gets everything fired up, and also a good movement to teach bracing to clients, like how to brace properly. But also you can load this up towards the end of a session, depending on what you're working towards, and go heavier with this. So of course, like I said about your body fat percentage being important, it's also important to understand that like any other muscle, there's got to be a form of progression. So whether it be you progress through the actual movements, the time you're working for, the reps that you do, the weight that you lift, there's got to be progression within these exercises to cause your body to adapt to the stimulus that you're putting on it. And then through that adaptation that you're getting, your body changes to its desired weight based on how we're training it to change. So as an example, if you just do a plank for 30 seconds forever, your body's not going to adapt. There's no change, there's no reason to make a change. But if your body's doing 30 seconds plank week one, then 35 seconds, then 40 seconds, then you work up to a minute, then you start adding in some weight, that's how you progress. And with this movement, like say a normal plank, you can start body weight, you can work on progressing the amount of time you're in that position for, and then you can also work on load. So instead of doing it body weight, let's increase the weight, right? Let's go 10 kilo on your back, 20, 30, let's work up in that way. And then we can obviously progress, like I said, both the time you're working for and the weight that you're using. Okay, the next exercise that I've been using is a side plank. It's a nice introduction into your core work. It can be more challenging, which is why I'll give you a regression in a second, but it's good working some anti-lateral flexion of the spine. So just imagine resisting side bending, right? So you use more so your obliques and your QL as well. So this is a great exercise. Again, you can obviously use this it's towards the end of your session as a big progression point for your core training and go quite heavy with it. I tend to use this more towards the start of my session with a bit of hip stability work. And this is really important if you're someone who say if you're interested in running as well, from an injury prevention standpoint, this works really well. I'll give you a few regressions as well and a few progressions. So a regression that works really well is you can just do this kneeling. So you obviously just take the load off completely. And then in terms of some progressions, you can go to a single leg variation. So you go into some hip abduction, and then it just means that you're basically doing that on one side. So you can obviously do this with the hyperextension pad that you guys might have used, that I've shown on how to train your glutes and get involved in a hinge. But you can do that, you can go onto a side position, and then you can do that to train your obliques as well, which works really, really well. A few other exercises you can do, like a little bit different, but it works more with your adductors, but a nice progression point that I've been working on for like hip stability, lower body and trunk strength is going to be a Copenhagen. So Copenhagen's a brilliant exercise, quite difficult, so definitely needs some progression points. These other ones are a great start. Like I said, with every one of these exercises though, make sure that we are going through progression points over time. You either work for an increase in volume, so maybe time you're working for, or reps, or the intensity, so maybe you lift more weight, right? Okay, the next movement is going to be an ab wheel rollout. Now, a little bit more advanced. I feel like a lot of the people who follow me might not be at the stage maybe to do this. And to be fair, I see a lot of people do this wrong. Even coaches do this wrong. I see it all the time. And this is a great way to train anti-extension of your spine. And this is really this is a difficult one to get right. However, if you're not at the stage yet to do this, I would recommend going on to something like a weighted leg lower. This is another great variation that trains anti-extension of your spine, and this is going to be a great exercise to progress so that you can then go into the ab wheel rollout. The ab wheel rollout, you can actually, what I like to do is if you have a partner and you put 2 resistance bands either side of the handles on the ab wheel, you can actually get them to pull it whilst you're doing the ab wheel. So as you're going into this position where the ab wheel goes out, that adds extra stress. That's the most challenging part of the position for the exercise, right? That's when you're trying to resist extension of the spine to keep that core strong. At that most challenging part, you've then got a partner that's pulling the bands, adds more tension, makes it more difficult. Another great exercise to progress. Okay, exercise officially number 4 is gonna be the cable rotations. A great movement for training rotation of your spine. A lot of people neglect training in different planes of motion when they're training their core, right? And training in general, but I'm a big believer in like functional training and making your body not just look good, but feel good too. So cable rotations, simple with this one. You can either go lighter on the weight if it's too difficult, and of course, over time, you can progress and go heavier. Some other recommendations you can do, you can work on maybe some like pal-off holds. They can work great as well. But with this one, I just love how you get a full rotation through the core. If you wanna know how to do any of these exercises properly, by the way, and you want me to go into more detail, of course, I provide this to my clients on my app, but if you've got any questions regarding any of these specifically, let me know in the comments below and I'll get straight back to you. Okay, number 5 is going to be a landmine rotation. So again, very similar, like this is training rotation of your spine, but it's good to have different variations in your core training. I don't want you to be always doing the same exercises. Of course, we need to progress with these, but over time you want to phase new ones in, new ones out. So this essentially is going to train a very similar adaptation to the cable athletic rotations that I'll show you in a second. That I would have just shown you. However, this one's just a different variation. It gives you a little bit more control because it's a free weight. And it's a great movement where you can also add some progressions where you can integrate more with the lower body too if you're more interested in sport specific work. So give this one a good go. In terms of progressions, like again, I would just go heavier with it, and if you're not at that stage yet, go a little bit lighter with it. Okay, number 6 is going to be training your core with hip flexion whilst maintaining a neutral spine. So the movement we're going to choose here, which I've been progressing on really well, is going to be a hanging leg raise. Now, I like to do this with a slight bend in my legs just because otherwise I find that my hip flexors take over and it takes away from the demands on the core, which is what we're working on. A key thing with this is to really avoid any movement, okay? In terms of, I don't want you swinging loads. I want you to keep like a nice strong position. And if you can't do this movement without adding loads of swinging into it, I want you to change and I want you to do the regression, which is going to be a station variation. You can opt for, if you can't do leg raises at this stage, you can opt for going for a knee tuck variation. And if that's difficult as well, you can try doing some simple work on the floor where you do just a standard leg raise. And if that's difficult too, another great option is doing it one leg at a time on a leg raise. That's another form that can be utilized for both a regression if you maybe did it on the floor, and also a progression point as well if you were doing it maybe hanging. So that's another great option. And finally, I'd say if you're still struggling with these movements for your core, maybe you've had an injury or this is just really tough for you, and you wanted to do, say, a leg raise on the floor, or any of these movements, in fact, focus more on the eccentric control and don't worry too much about the concentrics of the upwards phase. So let's use the leg raise on the floor, for an example. Maybe you could use someone to help you to push your legs up, but then you just focus on controlling that downwards phase. We're always going to be stronger eccentrically. Great exercise to add into your program. Get strong with this, work through the progressions. Number 7, suitcase carry. A great exercise for working your grip strength, but also working resisting lateral flexion of your spine. So essentially resisting side bending. If you've got a heavy dumbbell or a heavy kettlebell in one side, your body naturally wants to lean towards that because you've got you're offset. One side's got nothing, the other side's got a lot of weight. You've got to make sure you keep a neutral spine and keep a strong posture whilst walking. So your obliques are really switched on here to make sure that you resist that lateral flexion of your spine, so that's side bending. A great exercise to get stronger. The best way to progress this is through getting heavier and also for working the amount of distance that you cover on each rep. And the final exercise, number 8, that I love and I've been doing to get stronger is a farmer carry. And this is great for lower body strength, but also like your trunk, so your whole core. Doing some form of heavy carry is a great exercise to do. I think that you can do this by using kettlebells, you can do it with dumbbells, you can do it with a trap bar, loads of different variations. The main thing is that you're training pretty heavy here. You're doing a heavy carry, a great exercise as well, not only for your core, but also for your grip strength, right? Which is going to be a lot from your forearms and your lower body strength as well. So make sure that you add these exercises into your routine. Utilize not only the exercise, but the regression or the progression depending on where you're at in your journey. Guys, there's hundreds of different core exercises you can use, but these are just the ones that I've been using for myself, but also that I've used with clients, that clients have enabled them to get a lot of success with their core training as well. At the end of the day, you have to go through the progression points of progressive overload, working over time, but it's not just about building muscle here. This is about training so that you're functional. You don't just look good, because of course that's going to happen, but you feel good. You make sure that your body performs as good as it looks, and that's crucial for how I coach, how I train, and how I like to teach people. So if you find this video helpful, share it with someone else that you feel will get value. Make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you guys in future videos.